Good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Dan Lyons, Precision Chiropractic in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with today's Friday Philosophy. Um, Today we're going to start out. Last week I read from one of the green books, and for those of you that are, that's backwards, sorry everybody. For those of you that are not in the chiropractic profession, we have these books called green books, and many of us read them and have studied them. Some of them are philosophy. This one is a chiropractic textbook. This was actually a textbook. Has lots of science that was cutting edge back in the day, and some of it's still ahead of its time. Some of these are just purely textbook anatomy and stuff, but they are all green, and we've referred to these as the green books. And today we're going to read a little bit out of one of everyone's favorites, Stevenson's 1927 chiropractic textbook. We're going to talk about a children's book, and we're going to talk about psychology today and all how it relates to philosophy. So today we also, chiropractors, we have these principles. We call them the 33 principles because there are 33 of them. And we're going to jump around. We're not going to start at the beginning. We're going to start with number 4, the triune of life. And that states that life is a triunity having 3 necessary united factors, namely intelligence, force, and matter. And in the big philosophical picture, when you look at everything in your life, this is true. You have to have intelligence to create things. You have to have matter, because that's the world we live in, and there has to be a force that unites those two. In order to be alive, you're 400 trillion cells, all acting, if you're truly 100% alive and healthy, all acting together in a way that produces a life. And if this group of cells over here is off doing their thing, and this group of cells is off doing their thing, that doesn't work very well. Everything has a job to do, and it has to do it coordinatedly. And hey, Tom, how are we doing? And if everything isn't working together, then you don't have health. And if you take any one of those out of the equation, you don't have life. If I were to drop over dead right now, fooled you. If I were to drop over dead right now, my body would not have the force. It would not to connect the material of my body with the intelligence that runs it, with the intelligence that's communicating to you at this point in time. And principle number 5 is the perfection of the triune. And that states that in order to have 100% life, you must have 100% force, 100% intelligence, and 100% matter. And as simple as that is, that's really quite profound, because in order to be healthy, you can't, if you donate an organ, you donate B.J. Palmer used to have signs all over his office, kind of like this one here. He called them epigrams. And one of them said, be 100% American. Don't, be 100% American. Keep your tonsils, appendix, and other useless organs. You know, just because we don't know what an organ or a cell or a tissue's job is, doesn't mean it doesn't belong there. I like watches. All right, I know zero about how a watch functions other than you wind it up or you put a battery in it, it keeps time, and how to set the time. But I don't understand all the gears and all the springs. I understand they have a purpose. But if I took one apart and pulled something out just because I didn't like it, the way it looked, or I didn't know what it was, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be a problem somewhere down the road. And that's the way the world works. Everything has a purpose. And if that purpose is not being fulfilled, you have to look to why. And that brings us to the last principle we're going to talk about today. And this is number 17, cause and effect. Every effect has a cause, and every cause has effects. Hugely important. Cause and effect. If I drop this book, it's going to fall every single time. And we can predict with 100% accuracy how fast it's going to fall, and depending upon the height, how long it's going to take before it hits the floor. That is cause and effect. That is mathematical representation. When it comes to health and life and death, Those same things, it's a little more cloudy than just dropping a book because there's more things involved. But you still have to have cause and effect. And if something is going to be a cause, it has to have the same effect every single time. If it doesn't have the same effect every single time, then it's either not the cause or there's something else going on there. I'm going to let you take this wherever you want to go with it, but you know where I'm going with it. If something is the cause, is the problem, it has to be that way every single time, or there's something going on that you need to pay attention to. And so that brings us to children's books. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. What did Goldilocks say? She goes, this one's too hard, this one's too soft, this one's just right. This thing's too hot, this thing's too cold. This thing is just right. And that's the way your body runs. There is too much, there is too little, there is just right. Problem is, when we find something that works, we go all in and we say, if 5 works, 10 is better. That's not the case. Think about food. So I weigh 240 pounds. And that means I have to, there's a formula based upon my activity level that will tell me how many calories I need to stay 240 pounds. If I consistently eat more than that, my weight's going up. Fact. If I consistently eat less than that, my weight's going down. Fact. So there is just right if I want to maintain this weight. If you want to lose weight, there's a way to do that. If you want to gain weight, there's a way to do that. Water. You can drink too much water. You can drink too little water. There is a just right amount of water. Same thing with air. Same thing with vitamins. Same thing with adjustments. So I think every chiropractor that is honest with you will tell you, hopefully that's all of us, will tell you that at some point in time they've had a patient where the patient was doing good and they're like, all right, maybe we should do just one more adjustment. There's still a little bit stuck there. There's still a little bit of reading. However they do their analysis, and they do one more and it was too much. Or they're used to setting something with a certain amount of force and they use a little bit more and they shouldn't have. Or they do a little bit less and you don't get the same result. This applies, the Goldilocks applies to everything. The whole universe, when they talk about the Goldilocks zone, there is a very narrow range. You talk to an astrophysicist, there is a razor's edge of a zone that allows, in the universe, that allows human life. And we're living in it. And thank God we are. You know, drugs the same way. So when it comes to, you know, everybody right now is worried about, and we see all these things, you know, should we do vitamin D, vitamin C, sunshine, you know, all these different things. And yes and no, there is too much. You know, fortunately, if you take too much vitamin C, you just have expensive urine. It's not toxic. Vitamin D, not so. Too much vitamin D, you can cause some liver issues because it's fat soluble and toxic. But you can never get back, going to principles 4 and 5, you can never get more than 100% out of your body. There is a limit to what your body can do. There is nothing we can do to make it go more than that. I can lift, my muscles will say I can lift 1,000 pounds. I can't, but don't tell anybody else. You can lift a certain amount of weight and you can't, there's nothing you can do to make your body lift more, except grow it and get stronger. But at this point in time, that's all I can do. I can hold my breath for so long, all those things. So if you have too little vitamin D or too little vitamin C or too little nerve flow because you haven't seen a chiropractor and you need to get adjusted, then your body's not going to perform in the way it should. And taking your vitamin C, taking your vitamin D, or getting adjusted isn't going to make you super impervious to anything. It's not going to boost your immune system. I hate that word. It's going to make your immune system function the way it should. If your body needs vitamin C to fight a cold and you don't have enough vitamin C, you're not going to fight that cold as well as you could if you had enough. But if you take more than you need, you're just getting expensive urine. If you get your spine checked, your nervous system checked, and it is functioning the way it should, an extra force put into your spine at that point is not something you need. That's why we check before we adjust. If you are fighting something and you have interference to your nervous system, you are going to have a problem. If you are clear, you have as little problem as you can. Some people are still going to succumb, and that is where it comes to the psychology. As I was listening to a podcast, an MD, Peter Attia, on the drive. I don't know Peter. I like his podcast. He has some very good stuff on there. He's interviewing a psychologist, and he has this phrase in the psychology world. We actually have it in our house too. You might have seen it in a video. It says, "Darling, everything is as it should be." And the psychologist has a way different take on it than we do. And he said that in his field, that means that if you, let's say it's from from a normal healthy life to a sickness or something, there's 20 steps. When you get to step 19, don't be surprised when you stumble that last step and you end up in a dark place. That is as it should be, because you went down that road. And philosophically, very few of us analyze our lives the way we should. We don't take stock of what's going on and where we want to go and what's the best route to get there the way we should. And so we just kind of, stumble along, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, how did I get here? How do I have all these healthcare problems? How did I get to be overweight? How did I get to be, broke? And it's because you weren't paying attention to those steps. It's easy. There's a lot of distractions. Facebook, which you are on. Thanks for watching. Is a distraction. The news is a distraction. There's so many distractions. But it's, you have a life. You get one life. You get one body. Take care of both. Plan it out. And make sure you use the sense that God gave you. Use your logic to make those steps and end up where you want to be. They say when you write a book, you need to write your introduction and write your conclusion, and the rest will write itself. Same thing, or when you do that with a speech. You know how you're going to introduce yourself. You know how you want to start. You know what you want them to know when you finish. The rest will kind of write itself. Do that with your life. You were born. You know how that started out. You know where you are now. You know your backstory. Where do you want to be when you die? Not just physically, but socially. What do you want out of your life? I was talking with my wife the other night, with the dash in between. You got the date when you were born. You have the date when you die. The dash in between, is that a little dash that's insignificant and no one cares and no one knows? Or is that an impressive dash that everybody wants to be a part of? I hope you think about that. I love all the feedback. I don't have my glasses on, and I'm doing this on my phone. Hey, Dr. Meyer, how are you doing? Been a while. So thanks for all the feedback. I had a great call with someone that watched my last one. I look forward to doing next Fridays, and have a great weekend. It's sunny here, so I'm going to go outside and get some vitamin D. Have a great day. Bye-bye.